Hello first graders, today we are going to be learning about how to measure an object and find the length. So we're going to be using connecting cubes to measure our objects, okay? So when we measure, we need to make sure that we line up our cubes with our object. So if I'm measuring a highlighter, I want to take the very end of my object and I want to line it up with the very end of my cubes. So if I put my cubes right here, it's lined up. But as you can see, my cubes don't make it all the way to my object, or all the way to the very end. So I can't tell the full length. This only shows a part of my length. So if I take another object and put it with it, I can see that it would cover my entire object. So this object is how many cubes long? Because it goes from all the way at this end to all the way at this end. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cubes long, right? Because I put my two objects my two parts of my cubes back to back together, I can see the length of my highlighter because it matches up to the end to end. What if I put my cubes like this? So if I took that off, because that goes to end still, right? Is that right? No, because there's a gap in it. So it's not just 5 cubes, because if we put them all the way together, our highlighter would stick out more. So that's why we have to make sure all of our cubes are up next to each other. What if we overlapped them like this? Like that. It's still at the end of my highlighter, but does it go all the way? No. So we can't measure if we overlap either, or else we'd have to add another one, and that wouldn't be right either. So we need to make sure when we have our cubes, we put them all the way together, and we don't overlap or leave any gaps in our cubes so that we can properly measure our object. Okay? So there's a giant bucket of sand on this table, and I'm sure you've already seen it, but we are going to try to be kind of like we're hunting for dinosaur fossils. So we're going to look for different objects in our sandbox. So some of the objects that might be in there is like a block of wood might be in there, maybe another pencil or highlighter, maybe a card. So when I go in my sandbox, I'm going to search in there with my shovel, and I'm going to find an object. And once I find an object, I'm going to pull it out of the sandbox so that I can measure it. So then, where should we put so then we need to measure our object. So we need to take our little group of 3 cubes. They're all in groups of 3s, and you're going to put it where? Right, at the very end of your object. Oh, sorry. The very end of your object, okay? And then, if we have extra space left, what do we need to do? Yes, we need to get another section and add it on and see how many cubes it actually needs to be. So if I add that on to there, then I can see that it's closest to this cube. So I'm just going to break those off because they're too long for this object. So now we can see that this is all the way on this end and all the way on this end, and it covers our entire length of our object. So how many cubes long is the card? Count with me, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 cubes long. Okay, so once you find your object and the length of your object, you need to write it on your note card. Okay, so you're all going to have a note card that has the numbers 1 through 5 on it. 1 through 5. Okay, and on that note card, you're going to write the object that you found. So we found a card, so we need to write down card, okay? So, and remember, in first grade, we just try our best to spell. So if we hear a sound, we need to write that sound and try our best to spell the word, okay? And then how many cubes long was it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Our card was 4 cubes long. So we're going to write down the length of our card right there. And you're going to do that for all 5 objects that you find. Then you're going to have an exit ticket. And your exit ticket is to measure this blue pencil, okay, with the cubes. And then you're going to write how long the pencil is on the back of your note card.